Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishna Pesachim, Parag Zayin, Chapter 7, Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. Keitzad Tzoylin Es HaPesach. How do we roast the carbon Pesach? The Torah tells us that the carbon Pesach, the Paschal sacrifice, has to be roasted, has to be fire roasted. It cannot be cooked with liquid, and it cannot be partially roasted. It can't be, it's called na, which is translated as raw, but it means partially roasted. So how do we roast the carbon Pesach? Mevi'in shapud shel rimoin. We bring a spit made out of pomegranate wood, specifically pomegranate wood. It's got to be wood, and it's going to have to be a pomegranate wood. Why? Because they explain, since the Pesach must be fire roasted, we must ensure that it is not roasted with any water, which would be considered cooking. Most types of wood give off some moisture when heated. And if used as a spit, the moisture might mix with the Pesach and cause part of it to be cooked and not roasted. Therefore, they use pomegranate wood, which did not give off any moisture. Okay, that's the point. The point is you can't have any part of the animal being cooked. So if moisture comes out of the spit and the moisture mixes with the animal, it could come out that part of the animal is not being fire roasted, but rather being somewhat partially cooked with the liquid. And therefore, we have to use a type of wood for the spit that does not give out any moisture at all. That's number one. Number two, you stick the spit through its mouth until it comes out on the other end of the animal, on the back end of the animal. And one puts its feet and its intestines inside. Now, the halacha was that the legs of the carbon Pesach were cut off by its knees. And as we learned previously, the intestines were removed and cleaned from waste matter. So now they're part of the animal. They're edible parts of the animal. They're not part of the parts of the animal that are sacrificed. They also need to be roasted. So according to this opinion, which is Divrei Rabbi Yossi Aglili, the words of Rabbi Yossi Aglili, the legs and the intestines are put back inside the animal. The animal was cut open. You put it back inside of the animal and you roast the whole animal. And now all these parts will be roasted together with the rest of the animal. Rabbi Akiva says, if you stick it inside of the animal, it's like a type of cooking, which means it appears like it's being cooked. It appears like the same way you put it into a pot. You're putting it inside the animal. According to Rabbi Akiva, that appears too much like cooking. And therefore, ella toilin chutzalai, but rather the intestines and the legs are hung outside of the animal, meaning they're not inside the animal, as the Bartanura says, they're actually above its mouth, but they're on the spit itself, and therefore they're being roasted directly on the fire because they're sitting on the spit. So according to Rabbi Akiva, putting it inside would resemble like cooking inside a pot, and therefore he says you don't do it that way, but rather you do it on the spit itself. These parts will be on the spit itself next to the animal, as Bartanura says, above its mouth, and that's how it's going to be fire roasted on the spit itself. Have a wonderful day. Chodesh Tov, Adon Chodesh.
Thank you, Rabbi.